Halito, everyone. Welcome to the Sanderson Tracks SanderTeen Read JordanCon 2021 preview. I'm Deana Whitney, JordanCon Workshop Director, Sanderson Beta Reader, and the occasional blogger for Tor.com. Before we introduce our panelists tonight and get into the discussion, a quick overview of where Sanderson is in his non-Cosmere YA writing universe. First up, Rhythmatist 2, which we love and we're waiting on patiently, and we will have to continue to wait upon. He has said that it will be written after Stormlight Archives 5, but sometime while he's writing Mistborn Era 3. So 2024 is the earliest we might hear any real news about it. Next up is the Alcatraz series. Bastille versus the Evil Librarians is coming. It's coming 2022. He has co-written it with Janci Patterson, who is a YA and romance novelist. If you've not read her work, you should give it a try. She's a lot of fun. And then in more developments of Skyward 3, which officially has no name at this moment, will be announced soon, is coming out in November 2021. And around the same time, he has promised that a book he has co-written again with Janci Patterson will be telling us more about what's going on when Spensa is not around. So fingers crossed for more of our beloved Skyward team, who we did not see a lot of in Starsight, to say the least. Now, I will let these talented ladies introduce themselves in alphabetical order. Signing off, I'm Braid, B-R-A-I-D. Ashley, you're up first.
Hi, I am Ashley Chappell. I'm the author of the Dreams of Chaos series, which is a young adult epic fantasy. I'm also the author of a satire, War and Taters, and I have additional books coming out in the next couple of years. Looking really forward to this panel. This is something that obviously not a lot of us have gotten to get together and talk about much, but I am a complete Sanderson YA geek, and this is my bread and butter right here. So my call sign, of course, I had to have something that is extremely reflective of me, is Cat Lady. And of course, my Smedry talent is winning every argument in my head.
Very nice.
But only after I lost the real one.
The 5 minutes later. Oh, I wish I should have said that.
Oh, I should have said that. I'm Darci Cole, YA author. My debut novel is coming out this October. It's called Target. It is a Robin Hood, gender-swapped Robin Hood fairy tale retelling, and I love it so much. I'm also a Sanderson beta reader along with Deana. Have been since 2015. My first book with him was Alcatraz 5. And like Ashley, I love Sanderson's YA stuff. It is, people talk about how amazing his adult stuff is, and it is, but my favorite book of his is The Rithmatist, followed very closely by Skyward. So I'm super, super excited and super happy to get to be on this panel and talk to other people who love his YA. Oh, and my call sign is blue. I used to have a blue streak in my hair, but I don't anymore, but that's why. And my Smedry talent is accidentally buying fast food when I don't need it.
We have the same talent, Darci. My name is Paige Vest. My call sign is Blade. I'm going early. I'm doing mine early. My Smedry talent would be saying the most awkward thing at the exact wrong time.
My talent.
Yeah, I'm so good at that. Oh, yeah, they would be proud. Alcatraz would be proud of me, and so would Grandpa Smedry. But I am also a Sanderson beta reader. My first beta was Edge Dancer prior to Oathbringer, so that was my first work. That and the Gamma Raid for Arcanum Unbounded, which was a lot of fun. So I'm super honored to be part of that team, and I also through that through those acquaintances, became a chore blogger as well. So I've done some Sanderson works on there. I wrote an article with Ross, and I'm going to totally plug it. 3 years ago now? 3 years ago, and it was one of the top 15 tour articles of the year. So I was
Really
very
good
proud
article.
of that. I still am.
Yes.
So that's me. Looking forward to this panel with you wonderful ladies.
Didn't it get a Hugo nod? I remember it getting nominated, or maybe just the
Oh, I
tour of the
wish.
best of the year.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, but it was one of the top 15 articles of the year. So
That's amazing. I didn't know that.
yeah,
Yes.
very cool.
Yeah, mental
Congratulations.
health. I totally am waiting for the update after Oathbringer, but that's not this panel.
I'll get back to you.
First of all, I find it really funny that 3 of us have B call signs, and then we have Ashley with C for cat lady. So I'm not going to go further down because that would lead for a joke. All right. Now, Darci has the distinction of being the first Sanderson track panelist who has actually never been to JordanCon herself.
True fact.
So the wonders of Zoom. Yay. All right. Now to launch our discussions, grab your doom slugs or your drinks and everybody else. And let's start with Darci. Darci, you had a really point you wanted to make about Sanderson's YA protagonists in general. So launch us.
Right. The thing that I mean, talking specifically about looking at Spensa from Skyward, David from the Reckoners, and then Joel from the Rithmatist, right? Looking at those 3, I think we can see a number of similarities and a number of differences. But the things that are similar, I find very interesting. All 3 of them are very proactive. They all want something really, really badly. And obviously that's what makes a good character in general, but I find it amazing that the things that they want are, how do I put this? The things that they want are so incredibly personal to them, right? If you look at Joel, all he wants is to be able to do this magic, right? He loves it so much. He finds it so interesting. He finds it engaging, even though he can't do it. And all he wants is to be able to do it. But he has to go through, spoilers, he has to go through the entire book. He has to go through the entire book unable to. But in the end, what we get is what I think one of the best endings of any book ever, where he finds a way to participate in this incredible thing that he loves, but it's not the way he expected, right? And I think we can say kind of the same for Spensa. Like all she wants is for people to look at her and see someone brave. She wants to be the person that is respected and is appreciated. And she had to go through a lot of pain to get there, right? She got there, but not in the way she expected. And and when you look at David, he just wants revenge, right? His is a little darker than the others, but the thing about Reckoners, oh my gosh, is that Sanderson does an amazing job of giving us so many red herrings when it comes to trying to figure out Steelheart's weakness, that like every single person I've talked to who has read the books, I constantly am telling them, tell me what you think it is. Every time you have a guess, tell me what you think it is. And nobody ever gets it right. I've never heard anyone get it right until they're like the page before. And so for David, it's like he gets this thing, but even after he has the revenge, it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel super rewarding. Like he does say in the next books that he wouldn't change what he did, but it doesn't give him the
satisfaction.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. This is what I think about when I'm thinking about the protagonists of these books. They're all amazing protagonists, and they do have some distinct differences. But I think all of them, for me, the things that they want are what drive them, and the things that they want are what make them them. that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
No, I agree with you completely. Spencer went through so much growing up, as the daughter of a coward, and it really shaped her. She, her goal is to prove people wrong. You're wrong about me. You're wrong about my father. We know how that turned out, but that was her driving force behind, her wanting to be a pilot and being so headstrong, as she wanted to prove people wrong. I'm not a coward. Look at me for who I am. And it's really very moving to think of what she went through as a kid.
Yeah.
And then her best friend Rig had the whole thing of, maybe it's not a matter that he was a coward, but that everybody's made such a big deal that he was the coward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was
And
that
having to
distinction.
overcome
You can't
her own
just have a
definition of
trait.
it. Yeah.
You
Right.
can't just have the trait. You personify and exemplify the trait.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And suddenly it's
No, I agree with everything
genetics.
that. Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. There are a lot of strong similarities between these characters, and I love the way that he breaks them out in their own unique ways. Like, Alcatraz and Spencer share a lot of similarities in the way they kind of bull up as a reaction to their past hurts. Spencer's bravado as emotional deflection versus Alcatraz's pushing families away before he can get hurt. It's a very different way of handling bullying and the emotional trauma that they've both gone through. But Spencer really doubles down on that. She has kind of like this Kaldain level ability to double down on bad decisions once she gets wound up about things. And she can't back down, because if she does, in her
Yeah.
mind, that just reinforces the coward
The coward.
image.
Mhm.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes. Those two characters have always been the most closely tied for their poor decision making at times.
Oh, that's interesting. I
Good
would love to
point.
hear more about that. I hadn't ever considered comparing Spencer to Kaldain.
Very
I-
much the cut your nose off to spite your own face mentality when it comes to defending your honor, really.
Right.
I'd love to have the whole panel on that after book 4, and we see in book 5, and we really see how those two story arcs come to a
Oh, that would be great.
conclusion.
Sign
Oh
me up.
man.
But what about personalities? So what? Actually, you had a point about diverse personalities in YA and making them all just work as a whole.
Really, I think this is one of the things that Brandon does so phenomenally well. And sure, there are similarities between his protagonists, but when he's creating the entire team across each one of the novels, they are such incredibly well-crafted, distinct personalities with amazingly rich backstories and completely different drives, but people that should never have anything in common, like the entire Skyward flight. None of them, except for those who have come up together from the lower caverns, have any reason to be there and to get along or to work together, but they become the tightest knit families because everything he introduces in them, everything that they go through together, is this perfect reflection of their personalities. They bring something to the table in a way that it's not formulaic. You can't ever predict it when you start reading it. Just like Darci was saying, you can't anticipate so many of the changes and the challenges that the characters are going through. To me, it makes them extraordinarily real. And I don't feel like I'm just, reading another cut and dry. Here is our traditional story of coming of age, because these characters have experienced more and more believable lives than half the people I know.
The lives that they, and particularly in Skyward, I would say Skyward and Reckoners, particularly in those two, the lives that these young people experience are both so far distant from anything that I've ever gone through, right? And yet Sanderson manages to make them extremely relatable, right? The things that he tugs on in their personalities and in their experiences, he manages to frame in such a way that we understand, that we're there and we feel those emotions with them, right? Like losing your father. Both David and Spencer went through this, right? that's a loss that so many people can relate to, whether you've lost a parent or not. Like even the possibility of losing a parent can tug your heartstrings, right? And so I do think that it's, even though we've got these incredible settings or these, you know, beyond believability sometimes circumstances, the way that they're framed, the way that they're written, he does an incredible job of making sure that we care about them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Deeply.
You do care deeply, and it gets to the point where, you know, when another bad thing happens, like with Spensa, it's like, really, when is this girl going to have enough? She's a baby, you know, she's just a kid, and she's, you know, she's supposed to save everybody again. You know, come on, give her a break. You
Right.
know, she I'm sure she's getting tired of being the one to have to pull everyone's star fighters out of the fire, you know.
Yeah.
She's not saying, you know, honor's dead and I'll see what I can do, but she's having those kind
Yeah.
of moments.
She really is, like, no, there's no one else here to do this, so I guess it's me, you know. And she pulled off
Right.
her miracle with Mbot, you know, in book 1, and then book 2, she, you know, didn't even hesitate. She knew she had to take Helene's place, and, you know, jumped on that, and off she went. And, you know, the only approval she needed was Jordan's, and she was good to go. But even though she's so willing to do it, she doubts herself so much that it's just heart-wrenching, you know, because she's constantly thinking she's not good enough. I'm not the person for this. This is you sent the wrong person.
Particularly in book 2. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
a big thing in book 2.
Well, as Sanderson likes to say, he loves to see what happens when the wrong person is sent to do the job, is forced to do the job, and Spensa embodies that. So let's move into our deeper Skyward discussion, and we can all agree that Starsight was not the sequel we were expecting in terms of plot.
Amen.
Instead it introduced readers to the expanded universe, of which I've seen essentially universal praise for Sanderson's world building, with the diversity of the species that he introduced being a really key factor, even though the superiority's use of the term lesser species, skin crawl.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have a
And, like,
problem.
pretty sure that was intentional. Like, we're not supposed to like
intentional.
that.
Reference writing excuses, season 14, episode 33, Imperfect Worlds.
Right.
Highlighting, because totally intentional. It was not a mistake on his part. But Paige, I believe you had a few points you wanted to make about the Dions in particular.
Yeah, definitely the Dions and Vapor. When we met Vapor, you know, we don't know, and neither Dispensa doesn't know, is this what is the gender of this entity, this that I can't even see. And you know, Sanderson's taken a lot of flack in the past for not being, I don't know if you want to use the word woke, that has some negative connotations in some quarters, but he's really grown and he's learned. And the way Spensa refers to characters like Vapor or like Morrimur, the Dion that they're working with in the flight and Starsight, it's just really, it's really good to see. I think she references Kuna that way, doesn't she? As they instead of she. I believe so.
All the Dions.
Yeah, and so it's really good to see. Yeah, exactly. And it's just really neat to see that he has taken that step and kind of is making that an expectation. And it'll kind of mainline it a little bit, I think, getting the recognition that Brandon gets for his writing. And I'm hoping that, you know, more people will fall in line with that and follow that lead that he's, you know, that he's kind of guiding them along. And I really think he has an opportunity to make a big statement with this kind of thing.
And I love too that it's not, you know, he's making a big statement by not also making a big deal out of it. He introduces it, it's so natural. It's just, oh, this is
it's
normal.
Natural and it's subtle. Right. And there's no, she's not saying, is this a boy? Is this a girl? It's just they. And it's just natural for her, like you say. And so it makes it natural for you. And then you realize how much you gender people in your own life. And it really does. It really makes you look at things differently. And I think that's one way that fiction can really influence us and inspire us. And I'm for one, I'm really grateful for it, because it, especially having read these again recently for the beta for book 3, it's really made me aware of my own thinking when dealing with people.
Darci, you have?
I don't know that I have anything to add. I agree 100% with Paige. I think it's amazing that I think it's great that we've come so far, because a book that uses they as an individual pronoun would not have been received well even 10 or 15 years ago. You know what I mean?
Well, there's the Left Hand of Darkness, but that was slightly different.
I don't know what that is.
No, they don't use they just do other things with pronouns.
But I specifically in YA, like in the past 10 years, the past decade in publishing has seen a huge shift toward acceptance for different genders, for non-binary, for even to the point where not even just acceptance, but like, please give us more, right?
Yeah.
Like the YA publishing community wants to see more of that kind of stuff. And it's with the Own Voices movement and the We Need Diverse Books movement, like all of these things have created a space where more people can see themselves in books. And I will say that while I think it's amazing and great, and I'm proud of Brandon for taking the step to use they as an individual pronoun for Morrimur or for Suna. I say Kuna.
Kuna, that's how the reader says it.
For them, but I would really love to see him do it for a human being at some point. So we're making progress.
Yes.
I think he still has a little bit further to go as well.
Yeah. It's
I'm
actually
sure.
interesting because if you listen to Writing Excuses, they did season 14 was all world building, and he
Right.
basically workshopped a problem and a situation around the Dions in 14 episode 32, and it's directly him workshopping an element of the Dions in the left and the right in the reproduction with Mary Robinette Kowal and the other members of Writing Excuses. And to me, listening to that episode after reading Starsight, you could see like the roots of some of these changes of, he started a little bit more binary and then he evolved it after this workshopping. So I think anybody really should go check that out to see the evolution.
It's a great episode. Yeah.
Yes. But he has so many things where he evolves, and he, parallelism and everything. I mean, Joel's Rhythmatist, start off epic battle, chalk and all this, ends epic battle, chalk and all this, these payoffs. But so Sanderson is great with his plot. And as he talks about in one of his classes, his plot needs to be seen in terms of promises, progress, and payoff. What promises are given, what progress is made, and is the payoff achieved? Does the reader and the characters actually get the payoff? So before we move into our happy squee moments from the story, let's talk about my homophone, Braid, Brade.
Yeah.
Darci and Paige, you both have opinions about her that I know. What do you think will be your happy payoff about her? What promises do you think Brandon has created? Redemption arc? Yes, no? How do you see that developing?
I'm not a huge fan of the redemption arc. I know it's worked really, really well in other things, specifically Jaime Lannister in Game of Thrones, hugely successful. Dalinar, obviously, his redemption arc was, on us before we knew it, and in Stormlight. So we didn't really need to see an arc. I'm just not a big fan of making you hate somebody and then ding, oh look, they did this wonderful thing, now you have to love them. I'm just because I have strong opinions. I have strong opinions, and she goes through all of these things, as most of you know very well. She goes through all of these things, and she's just this nasty person, and then she sells Spence out the way she does in Starsight, and it's like how, and then because of that, everything else happened. It was like this domino effect, and all the horrible things, Mbot and having
that
to,
last chapter.
wasn't it awful? I mean, the total takeover of Starsight by I can't think of his, yeah,
So aggressive.
my, yeah, it's her fault. I mean, it's not her fault, but she was the catalyst for that. And so I have a lot of anger on Spence's behalf and on everybody's behalf, on everyone in Starsight, because through Spence's eyes, we see them as just people, not the enemy, not some other alien species, as people. She comes to see them as people. And that's when she starts to realize, okay, maybe they're not so different than we are. And then Braid goes and just throws that monkey wrench right in the middle of all of it. So I'm not sure Brandon could write a redemption arc that I would find satisfying.
It's interesting because as you're talking about, make us hate them and then make us love them. I don't think any of us really hated Steris when she was first introduced.
No, absolutely not.
But she was sure annoying, right?
She was annoying. There's a difference between annoying and loving,
But the fact that he managed to turn that around to such a degree that I fell in love with her, makes me think he can do it even if I hate the character, right? Which is a little disconcerting. And here's the thing, I do agree with you that like one good deed does not excuse a lifetime or however long it is of bad behavior or betrayal, right?
Is it a betrayal?
Right. So here's my thing. I don't like Braid.
Yeah.
But I think there's more to her than we know. And I would like to see that. And I think that if he wants to do a redemption for Braid, which he might, I don't know.
He might.
If he does, we're going to need to learn a lot more about her and her like backstory and her history and her own personal choices and why she's doing the things she's doing, right? Because maybe she knows something that we don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can see that.
And if that's the case, I would absolutely love to see her be redeemed. If there's something behind her that Sanderson knows that we don't, then I would love to see a redemption revealing those things, right?
The idea though is how do we find that out? I mean, we're all we can see is what Spencer sees, and all we know is what she knows. So how is she going to find out that information?
Right. And
maybe Peterson's writing something from her point of view.
Possibly, very possibly.
Maybe. Right. So what I'm saying though is that it's possible. And if it happens, I want it to be epic. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be big. But I also think that he should make sure that it's not excusing her bad behavior. It's like it's a continuation of her story, like her being the hero of her own story. Does that make sense?
And it's possible she has her own motivations. I mean, I'm not so stubborn as to think that she might not have her own underlying plan. I mean, maybe she is under their sway completely and really hates humans and really hates, Cytonics. Maybe she does. I don't know. Maybe she just wants to rule the world and be a horrible person like everyone thinks
watch it all burn.
But maybe she has
some serious
maybe so.
internalized self-hate based on how she was raised.
Oh, definitely.
So yeah, I mean, it's not really a betrayal of Spencer. It's more of a
Spencer,
why did you expect just because she's another human
exactly
that
exactly.
Ashley, do you have
honestly, I agree on half of that with Darci, that I really do want to know everything about her backstory. I want to know why she's doing it, but I don't want a redemption arc. I would rather her be a relatable villain because we don't have enough relatable villains. I would rather her be
That's fair.
Yeah, something that I can understand, because I don't like black and white characters. My evil characters cannot be completely evil, but at the same time, I don't want it to end up going on this kind of Star Trek tangent where, oh, all humans are basically good and redeemable and they'll do the right thing if given the right information. Or at least
Right.
classic Star Trek, and not so much the modern.
That's fair.
But so, at this point where it's just only the aliens can be, set against humanity. No, I think a human can be pretty well set against humanity as well for reasons that have already been introduced to us. But again, like you said, so it's not so one-dimensional. I really want more. I need more on her. But I don't want her to be redeemed because, like Paige said, I don't think I'm going to accept a redemption arc that's not, granted, I'm sure Brandon can do it because he's Brandon.
He's Brandon.
But it's going to have to be mind-blowing for me to accept one at this point.
Like Darth Vader
Yeah, I
throwing the
agree.
Emperor down the hole, it's gotta be huge.
Yes.
So there's definitely been no consensus on what promises he's making about her.
I don't
Yeah,
think
I
he's
don't think so.
intentionally made any.
He's left it so open-ended so that
Yeah.
we can, kind of all draw our conclusion about where things stand right now at the end of Starsight. And the last we see of her, she's again, trying to get Spensa caught. Trying to turn her, first of all, trying to turn her to the dark side. And
Yes.
when she fails at that, it's you're my enemy again.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, as far as promises, progress, and payoff, like when we see Braid, we see someone who we believe, and Spensa, I think, believes, at least initially, is completely brainwashed, right?
Mhm.
And the progress that we're seeing, at least so far in Starsight, is that it does feel like she starts to warm up to Spensa a little bit, right?
Mhm.
And that's why Spensa takes that risk in showing her that she's human, so that she can be like, look, it's not what you think it is, right? We're not all like that. And oh gosh, I
think there was
want
also-
to see. Sorry.
No, I don't. I think there was also a little bit of self-projection,
Oh, sure.
but Spensa was going all through a lot in her head during those 2 weeks. But
Yeah.
I was, though one thing Sanderson better make right in number 3, Mbot. Mbot cannot be slow
No.
for the whole
He must be
time.
made
No.
whole.
Yeah,
He must be
made
Mbot again.
whole.
He's
my little mushroom loving ship. I need my mushroom loving ship back.
we do.
But yeah, so let's move on because we are down to our kind of last 15 minutes. It's going by
Oh
so
man, we talk
fast.
too much, girls.
It's gone so fast.
Can't we make this a 2-hour panel?
Really get mad at me. He trusted me to moderate this, so can't mess that up. But let's move on to some of our favorite parts of what we've seen, and also what do we hope to see in 3 and even 4, since this is a 4-story arc, not just a trilogy. Especially, I mean, though not everything has kind of happened through Spence's books, since we do have the mainframe books with Jancy writing what else is happening. So now that we know about Doomslug and being more than just a pet, because Sanderson can't have just a pet.
Of course not.
Pets have to be plot points. What do you see? Ashley, you started us off on this one.
Okay, do you want me to start with my squee?
Yes.
Okay, my squee is still in Skyward when FM and Kimmelin sneak Spensa into the dorm for that night and she has her first sleepover ever. The way he wrote it, you could imagine that he was actually a 16, 17-year-old girl at some point who felt unpopular because everything in her head was so believable and relatable, how she recognized that they had been bonding without her and there was so much that she had missed out on. But even with all of that, she still came to the decision that she would not let them do that nice thing for her again because she cared more about them, knowing that that involvement with her could hurt them somehow. And just that whole everything about that, just heartstrings were going ting ting ting.
Oh, I know. And her bonding moment with Hurl and
Yes.
Hurl going,
Yes.
because Quirk and FM are so different, but Hurl and her, yeah,
Yeah, they
Yeah,
had it
she
all.
set off
Good
against her at
call.
first. But you know, as soon as Hurl showed up with the cake, I knew there was hope, and it just
Yes.
made me feel so good. Now, as far as what I want to see, there's one thing that I've kind of keyed in on. I mean, aside from yes, give me back my mbot,
Mhm.
but and just the very last sentence, of course, that just left me screaming out loud, stepping off into the void. Okay,
Mhm.
but what I really want to know is more about what exactly happened with her father. Was there some, larger ordained experience there? Because I feel it's such a big part of her life that we have such, still a vague understanding of what happened. And I feel like we're going to find something else out. Something else has happened, or is he somehow, I don't, and granted, we
you
have the
think her father's
story
going to
that
show back up?
I kind of wonder, because we have the story that Cobb shot him down, which Cobb has indicated is not entirely true, but we don't know what exactly part of the story is not
Right.
entirely true. So sometimes I
Right.
wonder, I think it
I
would be a little
hadn't
bit
actually
trite.
considered that.
Well,
Yeah,
it's one
he
thing I
left.
wondered.
Yeah, he left enough open about it. There's enough, confusion around it, and enough, little smoke and mirrors kind of stuff going on that Spencer doesn't really know,
Hmm.
and we don't really know.
Exactly. And it would be a little bit trite in my mind if he does show up maybe in, where she is now, but at the same time, I'm rooting for it. I think part of that comes from having lost my father when I was 10 years old. It's if you could have that back again, I would accept it in any form that it came from, because I would just completely
Mhm.
live through that. But I think there's going to be more to the story, and I'm really excited to find out what it is. Whew.
Darcy?
I've got goosebumps. Sorry.
Sorry. I was just thinking about what she was saying. Let's see. Okay, so squee moments. Um,
I know
I mean,
you're a
I'm a
spin
shipper,
face. I know
you
you're a
guys.
spin face shipper.
I ship Spinface so hard, like so hard that I'm pretty sure I'm the one who coined that term and like put it on Tumblr, and now everybody uses it, and I'm so proud of that fact. Okay.
We could check the beta sheet at some point.
I think it was in the chat that it
Oh, okay.
happened, but it's fine. All I know is that my I ship Spinface post on Tumblr has a lot of notes on it. Okay, let me just put that out there. So I love Spencer and Jordan. I think that the way that their relationship has grown together has been so incredible and so beautiful, and I can't wait to see it go further and deeper and become more. Like, I don't know that I have a specific moment in Skyward or Starsight that that like stands out to me. Here's the thing. The thing that I loved about Spencer in Skyward is that I felt like she was me when I was a kid. Like, she's the fiery Gryffindor who just will not take no for an answer. And that's exactly how I was at that age, right? And so it was so much fun to read her and watch her go through all of these stages of both grief and, discovery and understanding and learning about not only the world, but about herself, right? Discovering who she really is behind all of that bravado, right? Not to say that the bravado is unimportant, because it's a super important part of who she is, right?
No, we love our Nordic princess and her sprouting off
Exactly.
half the poetic Edda. We
We
love
Yes,
her.
we love her.
But
It's so her.
It's
Yeah.
definitely
Perfect.
you got to
But
look at her with a grain of salt and understand where she's coming from.
Yes, but that's what I love about her. She's unapologetically herself, right? She had to become a certain version of herself in order to feel like she could survive all of the bullying and all of the oppression that she was receiving from everybody. But when that all kind of went away or died down, and she got the respect she wanted, like, she didn't change as a person, like her understanding changed, and she learns some things about herself, you know, how far she's willing to go for the people she cares about in particular. But she still yells out these crazy, you know, I will drink the blood of my enemies things. Like, that didn't change. She's still Spensa.
Thank
Yeah.
goodness.
And I adore her for that.
Thank the saints, because we love our Spensa.
Right.
I love my
Okay,
pork.
and real quick, as far as what I want to
I'd
see in future books, or in the novellas, I want to see more. Like, we spent so much time on Starsight. I want to see what's happening on Detritus.
Mhm.
I want to see as much as we can from the original Skyward flight. I want to learn. I want to see Jordan working with Gran.
Yeah.
I want to learn as much as possible about all of that that's happening at home. Right. I miss that so much. So.
Paige said by the Saints, and I'm just
Okay.
like, Quirk! I need my Quirk!
By the saint. I have a couple squee moments. One from Skyward, one from Starsight. Skyward was absolutely Cobb showing up with Mbot after Sensa crashed during that
was
the big
amazing.
boss fight there, the big battle, and you know, and there she is. She took the thing up a bucket of bolts basically, and because like you said, she's going to do what she has to do for those she cares about, and then crash and burn, you know, and of course she didn't eject. She wasn't a coward. so crash and burn, and there she is, unable to do anything, and boom, there's Mbot. And just thinking about what went on there, how did Mbot talk Cobb into doing this? How did this happen? And it was like, you know, a yippee jump up and cheer moment for me.
He had
and
to change
again,
his code. He had to change for that to happen.
he had to change. It was amazing. And the fact that he did that, even though he was so angry with her, he did that anyway. And so there's our hero, you know, Mbot. And by the same token, when Morrimur left Starsight to go help and save Spensa in Starsight, that was another, you know, whoop and holler moment, because you know, they didn't think that was who they were. They didn't think that's what they were meant for, and they were ready to go, you know, be remade essentially, and scrap everything that they had learned up until that point, and then they didn't, and they went and saved her. And it was just, I don't know, I get goosebumps right now thinking about it, because that was just so epic for me.
Yeah, because with more and more, and I mean, you see Sanderson gives us the, you know, he's walking past his relatives and he's holding out his hands to the left and the right. And then that moment of this thing appears in the sky and he's like, oh no, sorry,
I gotta go.
I'm out.
I get to be the, you know, he's like, you know, he gets to be his species first war, or they get to be the species first war hero.
Yes.
But
That was a goosebump
they
moment.
were not thinking like that. They
Yeah.
were just thinking, this is
I
not
need to help.
that.
That's where I need to be right
yeah,
now.
I can help this. I can make this better.
I can make a difference.
I can make a difference.
And other than squeeing, something I really am dying to know is what happened with Alanik back on Detritus. You know, I know we're talking about what's going on back
Yes.
there with Spensa on Starsight playing spy, and what happened with Alanik? Did she happen to have another translator pin in her ship? You know, did she come out of her coma? What's going on with there? I'm dying to know about Alanik.
Yeah, I gotta know.
Seconded.
I think, you know, I think the report of Kuna's death is greatly exaggerated. At least it better be greatly exaggerated. So yeah, the political thing of what is going to happen, how are things going to change and develop? Because honestly, when we were done with Skyward, I thought book 2 was going to be them figuring out how to get one of those platforms going and make it, you know,
Right?
transport them across the galaxy away from all of this nonsense.
Same.
Yes.
So
instead we get Winzik shoved in our
Instead, we
face.
just went across the galaxy.
Oh, Winzik, no.
Yeah.
Winzik is
Mama,
the worst.
so aggressive.
So aggressive.
I love that we all
you're-
hear the same kind of voice for him in our heads.
Oh, I listen to the
My.
audiobooks. Yeah. So
Oh, no, I have not.
there's she's great. She's fantastic.
is.
You should listen to the audiobooks sometimes. She's wonderful.
Yeah, she did this other audiobook that's How to Defeat the Demon King in 10 Steps. You should totally check it out. It is
Sounds fun.
hilarious. And she's a very Spencer-like character. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
Ooh, perfect.
yes, the narrator.
But-
I can't remember the author at the moment, but it's the same narrator as Skyward and Starsight.
But just a kind of a closing thought from me. I think Brandon does such a good job with YA. He in middle grade. Alcatraz is one of my favorites. But I've known people who would talk down about David, especially in the Reckoners. Oh, he's so whiny. He's so annoying. I'm like, he's a kid. He's a kid.
He's growing.
You know,
Like 17. Like, leave him
people.
alone.
It's like
He grew
people
up in an
insulting Shalon.
ammunition factory.
Exactly. Look at the trauma he went through in his life. Look at how he's driven by that revenge, and to criticize that. I mean, isn't that how he's supposed to be? Isn't that what the author intended? So for people to trash on Brandon's YA is just, I think it's so unfair, because I think he does a phenomenal job with it.
And to be fair, like, if you're gonna call David whiny, you need to call Kaldain whiny too. Because
but then I'll fight you if you do. So
right? No, I'm with you. They're not, right? I think they have every reason to complain about the things that they do complain about.
Exactly.
Yeah, the people calling them whiny are probably the same ones who cannot handle a long line at the grocery store.
Yeah,
oh my
right.
gosh.
Right.
Or there might be
So,
some,
yeah.
I mean, because the Reckoners has not taken off after Calamity, because I think part of it is that the conclusion, the fight, the confrontation was so much more mental and so much more an
Yes.
emotional.
Oh, see, but I loved
thing.
that.
Oh,
Yeah,
I loved it.
I loved it too, but I have to admit, I actually had to read it like twice to really understand.
What just happened?
Yeah, what just happened? I mean, and you were saying with Steelheart, what's his weakness? Well, they went through the same kind of fight with the prof. What was the prof's true weakness to truly defeat him?
Yeah.
But it's just so much more mental than it was, a superhero, let's beat things up and break things.
No
It's just
epic battle,
right.
Oh, yeah.
It
You
was
can't
not
just
the
beat up
ending
the
that a lot of
epics.
people were expecting.
Right.
Yes.
The epics, they keep healing. You can't just keep beating on them. You have to get into their head in order to beat them.
Exactly. And
Well,
and
and
you
you know-
know, you can't have an epic. It's just like what am I trying to think? Oh, people were disappointed with Rhythm of War, with the ending. And I know this is a YA panel, and I'm going off the grid.
So
here,
let's
but
not go too spoiler into
wanted
Rhythm
it-
of War, because it
Oh,
is.
right.
No. Oh,
So.
true. It's not been enough time yet. But
Right.
anyway, after Oathbringer's finale, everyone wants every book to be that wow. They want every part finale to be this big, huge battle, epic fighting, and it's just not going to. It's just not going to. Period.
Ashley, you had a point you wanted to make, and I think that will be our last one where we have the time to make.
Oh, sure. I'll make it quickly. It just, we were talking about how mental and introspective so much of these main conflicts have been, but that's something that I think he does so well with his YA, and I think it's something that he excels at above most of the YA that you read now. One of the things that I love to talk to when I get to speak at libraries or at schools to students, I talk about the power of fiction for just helping to develop that emotional toolkit for kids to find something they can borrow from these empathetic experiences that they're reading about, and it helps shape them in so many ways. And one thing that Brandon does with all of his characters, his protagonists, they are introspective on a level that you don't normally see within teens, but it's kind of teaching them how to analyze, how to think about their motivations. Why am I doing this? And that's, that's not the, oh, does he like me kind of thing that is more tropey and common with, the mainstream YA. He's really teaching you how to think about yourself and your actions, teaching you how to develop integrity. And I love that part of just the mental and introspective side of his YA. I really, really preach to that one a lot when I'm talking to other readers and students, especially.
Yeah, I mean, it's like people think that
Wonderful.
kids can't have these deep thoughts, that they're too immature, they're too, not worldly enough or what have you. But they can think deep thoughts too, just like the rest of us. Just
We
because
just
they're
have to
kids
give them the tools.
Well, and the
Exactly.
fact is that they do, right? They do have these deep thoughts. They just don't have the language necessarily to interpret and communicate them yet. And that's what Ashley's talking about, where Brandon's able to go through and really clarify what this emotion is and how it feels. And I think that's super important. I agree for teens, young people, you know, or heck, even adults, right?
Yes.
Like,
We could always
to
use
be able
more.
to read
If
and learn and empathize. Like, it's so useful and so
Right, I mean,
important.
2020 has taught us that everybody, age 5 to 105, can suffer from depression, anxiety, unease. And yeah, as you said, they're feeling these feelings, but they don't necessarily have the vocabulary to express them. So an author that wants to try to help them by giving them that vocabulary, give me more of that.
Yeah.
Bring
Bravo.
on more
100%.
of them.
Absolutely.
So, but let's, I think, conclude though. I want Ashley, you have a little dragon companion of your own behind your shoulder. I did not believe you
see.
introduced your little dragon.
Yes.
at the
She
beginning.
oversees all of my writing. Hello, Cleo Bird. She's a sun conure, and I can't believe she's been this quiet. If anybody knows sun conures, conures are not quiet at all. So she has been a
She's been
rock
here the whole
star for
time,
Mama
though.
Tonight.
Wonderful. So you have your dragon. Brandon Sanderson has his dragon Jello. If anybody, for those in the audience who have not checked out his live stream, check out his live stream where you get to meet his dragon Jello, Magellan, aka Jello, the button hoarder. And but with that, ladies, thank you. This has been
Thank
so
you.
much fun tonight. Appreciate seeing all of you and getting to talk. And yes, we got to do it more. We should be able to have audience questions from the JordanCon Discord channel once
Great.
this panel goes live. But we will talk to you more when JordanCon is live and comes back. Thank
Yay.
you. Night.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. Good
Bye.
night.